I was like many college students, sacrificing my sleep to study and work more, sacrificing relationships for extra income, and trying to be as productive as possible. But that left no free time in my life. And I kind of hated the way I was living at the time because all I felt was overwhelm, anxiety, and occasionally this kind of spark of sense of accomplishment. But I've been on a quest ever since, trying to understand why we do this desperate trade. And I discovered a part of the answer, and it lays in the way we live in modern life. So modern life has us trade health for money, relationships for more time answering text messages from your boss, and well-being for a few dollars extra on the paycheck, which in a sense doesn't make any sense. And I came to Canada 6 years ago, almost 7 years now, and I quickly had to adopt this kind of fast-paced lifestyle, which is inherent to the culture, to American culture. I started working minimum wage 2 months after I arrived, while going to school and trying to make sense of the new way of living I was being exposed to. And it was rough in the beginning, I'm not going to lie. And the first thing that I've noticed is how little importance people place on their time outside of work or school, for that matter. I felt like people are always working, like from the age of 17 till the day they die, to the point where they're literally trading their physical and psychological health for money and time at work. Now, I'm aware that this also happens in other parts of the world. I'm not talking about, I'm not trying to shoot at Canada and the US, but if you take a look at the statistics about anxiety disorders, obesity, stress, and loneliness, it's particularly apparent in here and in the US too, mostly in the US. But it's clear that in this type of modern life, health and well-being aren't being prioritized. In fact, it's bottom of the list. And for me, the steps that society laid out in front of me, it was a hard pill to swallow, because my life would look something like going to school for 20 years, working 50 hours for 50 years, and eventually at 70 when I retire, I'd finally be able to enjoy and get my time back if I'm lucky enough not to die from some sort of virus or cancer because I destroyed my immune system because of stress. That's a pessimistic point of view, but that's the realization I aim to, because when you're constantly working and barely keeping your head above water, how do you manage? How do you see your life? And in her book, Do Nothing, which is here, excellent book, which I recommend for all the people that tend to overwork and feeling overwhelmed. People like me. Celeste Headley, she describes the evolution of work. And what intrigued me the most is that there's been a significant shift in how people work and how they view their work. This was driven by the progress in technology that have increased the productivity systems. And around the time of the industrial revolutions, factories, they begin systemizing processes and treating work like a resource that needed to be maximized in order to augment the profit. And hourly wages, they emerged during this period. It wasn't really existing before that. And employees began working most of their working hours just to make enough, a living, enough money to survive. While factories, they begin to make a lot of profit. And this is, I believe, where the separation between health, well-being, and work, it began. Because today, if working conditions aren't as harsh as they were back then, the mentality hasn't changed that much. You're still working as hard as you can to make as much money as you can to get out of the trap, if you will. You're expecting to work your whole life and to center your life around work, while other aspects of your life is judged as secondary at best. And this is why people are so stressed. This is why people are so out of shape, so unhappy. Because we've been led to believe that taking care of our health, of our relationships, and of our well-being, it's not a priority. As if the only thing that matters is school or work and everything else is optional. But I promise you, this is a recipe for disaster. And this is why I coach lawyers, doctors, medics, engineers that are out of shape and are struggling to just take a break from working all day. And if you don't want to find yourself overwhelmed, stressed, and sick 20 years from now because you sacrificed everything, including your health, for that promotion, then if that's your reality right now, you need to shift something. Something has to change. Your entire mindset and set of beliefs around health have to be shaken up. And I remember waking up at 5 in the morning to get to the hotel I was working at a couple of years ago, putting bed sheets on hotel beds and cleaning the bathrooms. And in most rooms, there were those really comfy chairs. And I remember taking flash naps on them, just sitting down, closing my eyes for a minute or two, waking up, going back to work. And I felt like a zombie. I was 18 or 19 at the time. I was underslept. I was out of shape. I had a poor diet. Stress levels through the roof. And what I failed to see was that outside of work and school, I had time. I still had time, but I was spending my time poorly though. In my mind, I thought that because of my job, because of the chores at home, I simply had no time left. But when you take an objective look at it, there's still some time. You have the 8-8-8 rule, which is 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep, and then you have 8 hours of free time. Of course, now you take the transportation time off of that 8 hours and all the time that you need to be doing chores and everything else. But you still have time at the end of the day. That's my point. And I get it. That's the reality for most people. For you watching, probably your life feels busy and it seems unimaginable to fit more into it. Especially something like going to the gym, taking more care of nutrition, starting meditating, doing yoga, whatever it is. But that's not true. I did have time left. I was just using it the wrong way. I was spending a lot of time in two things, mainly that robbed me of the minutes that I had left during the day. My phone and mindlessly hanging out. And if you don't have time to take care of your health, to exercise, to cook, to meditate, whatever it is that you're trying to implement in your life, pick up your phone and go to the screen time app or section. I'm not shooting at you. I was probably spending 4 to 6 hours per day on my phone. And the reason for that was just that I thought I needed to unwind and relax. But that's not what being on Instagram or TikTok all day does to you. It does quite the opposite, in fact. It overstimulates your brain and shows you all the things people are doing that you aren't. And it distorts your sense of what's real, like what's real life and what's social media life. And in my opinion, that's why your phone is the biggest obstacle to changing your habits and taking care of your life. But I made a whole video about this, so I'm not going to talk about it in detail here. And if you want to go on my channel and you're going to find it. But think about this. If you cut your screen time in half, you'd have enough time to work out consistently pretty much every day. And I know that it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like the shift isn't immediate. But still, you need to realize for yourself that you have enough time. The problem isn't time. And right now, if you don't have any of these habits in your life, it's going to demand a lot of you to start cooking your meals, to start exercising, whatever you want to adopt to improve your life. So I'm not expecting you to start doing this and to start doing everything perfectly right now. I just want you to realize that the I don't have time is just an excuse, and that the truth is that you're prioritizing other things above your health. And by cutting down the phone time, that's just an example. This is the easiest way to free up some time to work on yourself. And this is what I did to start working on myself, my health, and my well-being without changing my job, quitting school, or compromising everything else for that matter. And if your goal is to get in shape and start going to the gym, then you should just check out Fitness Autonomy because it's going to be real helpful. Now, the second idea I'd like to deconstruct is the belief that you need to be a millionaire in order to start prioritizing your health, because it just doesn't work like that. Okay, this is completely wrong. In fact, I'd argue that becoming a millionaire might do the exact opposite. Because to get there, you have to condition yourself to use your brain just to make money and to prioritizing above everything else, at least in the beginning. And in doing so, you'll have very little time and energy to invest in your health on the road to riches. I believe that the goal should be to prioritize your health while working towards your ambition, towards making money, towards finding your passion. And nowadays, it feels like you can't do both. You have to choose between money or health. You take a look at the people around you. Most people that have a lot of money are not going to be the one that seem like they're taking care of their health so much. I think that sleep, diet, stress management, physical exercise should be an integral part of your life. It doesn't matter if you're a lawyer, business owner, or a student for that fact. And if you're relatively young and making an average income like I am, maybe the focus shouldn't be on how much money you're making, but rather on how you view and use the money that you have. Because by reframing your mindset and changing your habits, you can build a healthier perspective about money and making more money in the process. Because the reason why most people feel like they don't have enough money is because they focus on things that they want to buy, things that they don't have. So in comparison, their current income makes them feel powerless. If you're making 45K or 50K, whatever it is, a year, and your gym card costs twice your annual income, you'll definitely feel broke. But now if you reverse that, if you focus on buying a car that costs $5,000, then you realize that you can buy things and can cover a lot more than you'd expect. And the worst part is that money is a trap in a sense, because the more you make money, the more the things you want to buy and the more expensive the things are going to get, because you feel like you're going to need something better than what you have right now. That's why when you buy a house, you need a penthouse. When you have a car, you want a supercar. When you fly a private jet, no. When you fly first class, you want to buy a private jet. So this tells us that the solution isn't in making more and astronomous amounts of money, but rather in reframing what money means to you and the role it plays into your life. And while I was living below the poverty level, I reframed money as a tool to cover just necessities. It was just that. Pay rent, food, transportation, and the phone bill. That's only what money does. And in doing so, I had enough money. I wasn't feeling like, or things were missing, yes, for sure, but I wasn't feel like the problem was not making enough money, because I could take care of the essentials. And your view over money is going to evolve. It's going to adapt depending on where you're at in your life right now and what you're using it for. But I feel like the problem in modern life is that we're being bombarded with ads, marketing campaigns, social status games, and this creates buying impulses that, when they add up, can cost you a lot of money and induce a lot of negative emotions around money, because you're going to feel like you don't have enough of it. So money stops being a tool for safety and then starts becoming a source of emotional validation and gratification, which is dangerous, because that's when it becomes dysfunctional. That's when money turns into a chase for happiness, a chase that has been tested for centuries now and constantly fails, doesn't work. So if you can cover your basic needs, if you're rather young, and if you can save a little extra money for rainy days, can pay the rent, you can pay groceries, and you have enough dollars at the end of the month to pay for $20 membership for a gym, then you already have enough. That's you have the necessary to start working on your health and well-being. Trust me, you don't need fancy stuff. You don't need more money. You have enough money to start the process at least. Now, in order to start reconciling your health and your life, the first step is what I have been doing for the past, 15 minutes of this video. And it's freeing you from the limiting beliefs that hold you back and help you to cultivate a healthier mindset around those values. It's not going to be easy, okay? In modern life, health is rarely treated like the most important thing. Everyone around you is just working in treatment mode, which is when you have a problem, then you take care of the problem. But no one is doing prevention. So before you have a problem, make sure you don't have a problem by doing the things that are going to prevent you from having problems. And if you want to live longer, if you want to live happier, if you want to feel better, this should be the most important thing you focus on right now. Don't wait to be 40 years old and start feeling pain in order to begin the process of taking care of yourself. Do less. You're probably doing too much right now. You're stacking habits on top of habits. You're trying to squeeze as many tasks as work and as many things as possible in your to-do list. You're watching productivity hacks videos, and you're doing the Pomodoro technique or whatever fancy thing that you found on Ali Abdallah's channel. But it's too much. You're forcing productivity out of yourself without balancing it with its counterpart, which is rest. Because when you've used your system a lot and maximize the potential, then you get to give it time to recover. This is why you should, I think, stay away, and that links back to my previous video, stay away from the self-improvement world if you already feel like you're overwhelmed and late to the party, because this will only amplify those feelings if you consume it in a big quantity. You need to do less. You need to engage in fewer activities and reduce the number of things that are occupying your mind on a daily basis so that you can focus better on what truly matters to you. And if work and school, they're probably going to be the main focus of your life, which is fine. Again, don't compromise those because they're important, but you need to create other areas of your life that matter to you. And when it comes to your health and well-being, here are the areas you should focus on. First is for sure physical health. Second is mental health, because they come together. And the third one is relationships. So first you take care of yourself, and then you take care of the people around you. And if you're just starting your journey, I highly recommend starting with physical health for the next few months, because you need to build a strong disciplined foundation for yourself, and then the rest will just follow. You can't lie to yourself. You need to get your mind on board. And if you try to cheat the system or hack your way through it, you'll quickly realize that it doesn't work, and you just end up going back to your old patterns. And if you watch my videos, you probably heard me say this before, but it's worth repeating. If you want to change for the good, you need to find an internal and powerful enough source of motivation. It has to come from you. It has to come from within. This isn't the kind of motivation that you can get from watching inspirational videos on YouTube or following empowering influencers on Instagram. Because the most potent source of motivation comes from the pain of staying the same, okay? You need to be brutally honest with yourself if you want to move and shift as quickly as possible. Look at the current situation you're in and fully embrace the fact that it's probably not where you expected nor want it to be, okay? I didn't expect at 17 to feel so out of shape, to work as much as I did, and to not have the physique I wanted, because no 17-year-old is wishing for that. And for me, this created so much internal discomfort that I was finally ready to make a change. And you need to connect with that pain, okay? People are going to say the opposite. I think it's not true. I think you should take an honest, unfiltered look at it and be like, this I don't want, so then let's do the opposite and let's start right now. Most of the things we think are important feel that way because we've been told that they are, or that they should be, not because we truly want them. And that's when you have to decide what truly matters to you and in your life right now. It's not fair, but if you haven't asked yourself this question yet, the main thing directing your life and your choices now is probably the society you're living in. If you haven't asked yourself, what is the most important thing in my life? What are the most important areas I want to focus on and build and improve? Then people around you and society in general are going to decide that for you. And there's really something that I realize more and more in my own life. Most of the things I'm chasing aren't things I really want, but things people told me I should want. And this is not good. Because then you start your chase of money, status, power, fame, whatever you want to put in the equation. But when I truly ask myself, what do I want? Where do I want to focus my time and attention for the next years to come? Those things don't really matter as much. Again, comes back to honesty. It's hard, but being honest is really what you should do, what you have to do. Not only do you have to detach yourself from the external expectations society is putting on you, we also have to turn inward and genuinely ask uncomfortable questions like this, because your brain is not going to give you answers straight away. And when I did this, I realized that I valued my health far more than my job title or the amount of money I'm making. And despite what I'm thinking, I have to stay true to this belief and act on it, even if that means I can't go to parties because I have to go to bed at 9:30 to get my 8 or 9 hours of sleep, because in my opinion, it's not worth it to go out late anymore, because I want to be focused on the day coming, and I want to be able to exercise, feel well, not feel like my vision's blurry, my mind is foggy. And none of this would have been possible if I hadn't had those harsh conversations with myself about what's most important, and be willing to see the truth and to really listen to what the answer is. So I highly suggest that you have that conversation with yourself too. People are always making plans, setting new goals, telling themselves, tomorrow I'm going to start to do this. People are building a lot of plans for themselves, okay? And every January 1st, there's a fresh wave of new resolutions to take better care of health and well-being. And if you take a look at the numbers, the vast majority, in fact, I think it's 90+% of the people, those plans, they last only a few days. Not because they're bad plans, but because of everything that we just talked about, because of the limiting mindset about it. Most people think that the main reason why they're not exercising or eating better at the moment is either a lack of time, a lack of money, or a lack of planning. And it's none of those things. The problem is not that you don't know what to do. People know what they should be doing. Like, proof of that is that they're all wishing for exercising more resolutions when January 1st come. So the problem is that you don't know why you're doing it or why you should be doing it. And while the how, which is the plan, is crucial, the why, which is the reason, is the thing that makes it possible. And you need to fully embrace the belief that health is more important than everything else, because without health, nothing else matters. If tomorrow you were diagnosed with a stage 3 lung cancer, which hopefully you're not going to get diagnosed, do you think that your job, your promotion, the car that you're chasing and saving enough money will matter? It won't. And I'm not suggesting that you live your life as though you have a stage 3 lung cancer, but you do need to put things into perspective and not let societal expectations guide your path in your life in the end. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is goal setting. The role here is simple. You need one goal when you begin. One, don't overwhelm yourself. Changing your habits and your ways is already going to be hard enough. So don't overwhelm yourself. One clear goal. And this idea that you should really focus on just one goal is like the core idea of fitness autonomy, where I guide people through starting going to the gym, building discipline, losing weight, building muscle. What I do in the gym with people, but I cannot do it with everyone. So if you're interested in that, again, take a look at it. But focus more on one thing. Laser on that single goal in the beginning, especially when you don't have enough time. One clear goal, going to the gym 3 times per week. That's it. And if you're unsure where to start, you go to the gym first, because in my opinion, I've seen from experience that this unlocks everything else, because this is probably the easiest to put in place, and nutrition and everything else comes after that. Learn how to exercise properly, learn how to be consistent, learn how to become disciplined. And if you adopt this mindset, you do your best to put this in practice and to use everything that we've talked about. And if you have any questions, you tell me in the comments. But your life won't be radically different tomorrow. But in a few months, if you stick to it and if you commit to it, you won't be the same person anymore. That I can assure you. And so in the meantime, I hope this helps. You just trust the process.